Old Man Sarge here. I have my Maggotkin of Nurgle army out on display here for you. I don't know how many points, but I think it's like, could be close to 5,000 to be honest. 4,500, I don't know, 5,000 perhaps. Today I am playing a 3,000 point game with my friend, and it is the largest Age of Sigmar game I've ever played. But I have almost all of the units. I just went through an inventory for Age of Sigmar. The only unit that's not Age of Sigmar is this guy here. It is a Soul Grinder, but I think that that still will go into my Slaves of Darkness army. However, I think for 40k that that unit will be in the game, and that the units that won't will be like basically all these guys: the Glottkin, the Blight Kings, the Blight Lords, or something like that, and then the other three characters. And so today I'm taking the Cron Spine as my endless spell. So that's the plan. So what I thought I'd do is I would go over my list that I made up. I wrote it all up, trying to get to 3,000 points, and tell you kind of what my thoughts are and theories. It may not work out, but we're going to try it out. So first, I got this little deal here. So first I'll put out the Endless Spell. So that's the Cron Spine. I actually finished this up just recently. I finished up my Demon, and then I started painting the Cron Spine and got that done. My friend helped me out putting it together because it's an absolute pain in the butt to put together. But painted up, it looks pretty decent. So Endless Spell, Cron Spine. It casts on an 8, so it's a little bit difficult to get out. But the benefit of it is if you try to banish it, it only does 6 points of damage to it. It doesn't actually outright banish it. So that is the Cron Spine. So that's the first thing that we'll show you. The next one is the faction terrain. I don't know if I have to put this out initially or whether I can put it out later with Slimix. But this is the faction terrain, and this is the Gnaw Tree, I think is what it's called. Let's see, what is that called? The Gnarl Maw. So this is the Gnarl Maw. The only benefit it really does is it gives you disease, and if somebody tries to attack it, it could hurt them back in hand to hand. So it can create disease within 6 inches of it. In Regiment 1, so in the first regiment, and my hero's regiment is Rotigus. So there is Rotigus in all of his glory. Now Rotigus has one advantage, and that is, well, he has a few different things that makes him good. But one of them is he's a +1 to cast. And that's sort of important for the Cron Spine, because the Cron Spine casts on an 8. This will make it a 7. So that's Rotigus. In his regiment, I didn't put too much in his. By the way, I plan on having him on my left flank. But with him, I have decided to put, I'll put them out for now so that you can see them. And there they are. I gave him 3 plague drones. So Rotigus And let's see, there are the plague drones. The thing about this army that's kind of bad is many of the models are slow. They don't move very fast. Rodriguez isn't bad, he moves 6. The plague drones, they move 8. So I kind of need them to gain battle tactics in the game. So we're hoping that they'll do enough and stay around long enough to do that. So that is plague drones. And I believe there's 3 in the unit. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's 3. I actually have 4 models, but I think only 3 of them are in the unit. So we'll put them back. That is the 1st Regiment. Rodriguez and his plague drones. Next, 2nd Regiment is going to be my favorite, the Glottkin. Now, I've always been a big fan of the Glottkin, even in 1st edition, even though, you know, he's not necessarily the best ever, but he's enjoyable to play. Always kind of has been for me. The last, I think it was maybe the beginning of, end of 1st, beginning of 2nd, I played the Glottkin in an army of 2,000 points against Disciples of Tzeentch, and my friend brought a Lord of Change and just tons of pink horrors, and maybe blue horrors, or pink horse turned into blue horrors or whatever. And he just shot me to the point where all I was doing was rolling defensive dice and just eliminated my army. I could hardly touch any of his units. That, by the way, is not the reason why I stopped playing 1st edition, but it kind of helped to make the decision at the beginning of 2nd that I was kind of done with the game. But the Glottkin, very enjoyable model. And my friend, our Lord of Chaos, initially painted this up. I bought this army from him, so he did the painting of this army. He did a really good job, I think. In his regiment, I have given him 2. So let me get the Glottkin out here. If I can find him. I have the card. There it is. Okay. So, in his regiment, I have 2 Blight Lords, Puscoil Blight Lords. Again, they're quick. They move 8 inches. They have 8 health, 4+ armor save, 5+ ward. I don't know. Again, I'm going to put these guys on the opposite flanks of the plague drones. So I'm putting plague drones on the left. I'm going to put these guys in the Glottkin on the right. Glottkin also has an advantage in the game, and it's called Blighted Stampede. It's one of his abilities, and if you use him to charge, counter-charge, which I might do in the 1st turn, if somebody does, like, take the flanks, I might actually do the counter-charge with the Glottkin for 2 command points, try to get a 9, because I think that's how far away my opponent would be, and then I'll have a reroll to try to get another 9 to get to him. So that's kind of the idea, and here's one of the units that could potentially be the other unit gets to charge for free, and then with them, the Putrid Blight Kings get to go with them, and that's the 2nd unit in this regiment. So I'll put this guy back, and this guy back, and we'll put out 5 of the 10
How are you guys doing today?
Blight Kings. So I'll put those out. So here would be half the unit. I actually did a enhanced unit, so or reinforced unit. So I have 10 Blight Kings. Let me actually make them all face outwards. That way you can see one model as it passes looking at you. So here's 5 of the 10.
Do you guys still have the Fallout Magic?
Pretty cool. These guys are really good. In fact, somebody was telling me that they thought that the best scroll in the game was, gosh, what is the demon's name? Lord of Shadows, Bellicor, right? And that very well could be. But this has got to be up there as far as best scroll in the game. These guys have a 3+ armor save and a 5+ ward, and 3 wounds apiece. So they're going to be really hard to take off the table, I believe. So let me put out the other 5. Alright, so we'll put these guys out. One of these guys is really kind of gross. Well, they're all kind of gross, but... And here's the thing I want to talk about when it comes to Nurgle. So the demons in Nurgle, Maggotkin of Nurgle. So they kind of went gross for a while, making them look really kind of hideous and gross and disgusting, which I like. And then, I don't know why, they decided, hey, let's go a little rated G on some of our future stuff to make them less gross and more cute, you know. But these guys aren't those. These guys are kind of disgusting if you look at them. Like, not all of them, but like this guy, he's got a big old tentacle coming out of his stomach. This guy's got a bell inside of his stomach. I mean, they're not pretty, you know. So, yeah, so 10 of them. I would suspect that this unit could very well last till the end of the game. I think it would be a difficult task to take it out of the game. I could be wrong. But so that's one regiment right there, and that's the 2nd regiment. The 3rd regiment is, and I'll put them back to back since they can both fit on here, is the Beast of Nurgle and Slimex. The only reason the reason I was thinking about the train feature, the free train feature, the Marl or Gnarlmaw. The reason I was thinking about it is maybe it's not good to set it up initially if you don't have to. And this guy, because he can bring it in at some point. So I can get his card, and his card says your movement phase. If there are fewer than 3 Gnarlmaws on the battlefield, you can set up one wholly within 12 inches of the unit. So you can push it up the table further instead of just being there. But there's another thing that this guy does. It's called, and it's on your movement turn, on your turn, once per turn, your movement phase. It's called Beast Handler. Pick a friendly Beast of Nurgle that unit has been destroyed. So this is the Beast of Nurgle right here. Roll a dice on a 3+ setup or replacement within 12 inches of this unit and more than 9 inches from enemy units. So essentially, this guy brings back this guy. So the strategy is I'm going to put him in the center and I'm going to use him immediately. To anybody who tries to, if my opponent tries to take the center, I will try to interrupt that with the Beasts of Nurgle. That's the plan. So that is regiment number 3. And again, this is a 3,000 point game, so I have 4 regiments, which shouldn't be too bad. So let me find the Beasts of Nurgle. Here he is. I'll put that in my stack of cards. Okay. So next, we're going to the last regiment. And that is the Great Unclean One. Now, I've watched a bunch of videos where people are suggesting the Great Unclean One is the better, like, all-around unit of unit for the leaders or whatever for Maggotkin of Nurgle. So a lot of people are not taking Rodigus or the Glottkin, they're taking the Great Unclean One. So let's take a look and see why that might be. Well, one thing is One of the, I guess, what do you call it? One of the, what do they call it here? Battle traits. So the battle trait for Age of Sigmar is that you can create disease within the army, and that's what you kind of try to do. Is you try to create disease and spread it throughout their entire army. Normally, you're not going to be able to do that until the end of the turn, and you have to be in combat. So if you go second, maybe you can do that with the Beast of Nurgle by getting in combat, but chances are it's not going to happen until you actually charge. If you go first, then again it's going to be on the opponent's end of their turn. You're going to be able to start the disease. So that kind of delays your effect.
Well, actually, I just pulled this guy.
Oh. Cool.
But what this guy does is he has a spell called Plague Wind, and it's a cast on a 7, 12 inches of him, and it just says pick a visible enemy unit, and on 2d6, if you roll a 7, that unit is diseased. So that's important because according to your disease battle traits, you can do two things. You can spread a disease, which means you pick an enemy unit that's already diseased, spread it to another enemy unit, or you can infect a unit that's not diseased. And so this will allow you to spread it quicker. And at the end of the turn, you roll a d3 for each diseased enemy unit on a 2+, inflict amount of mortal damage equal to the roll. So if you roll a 2+, it's going to take 1 to 3 mortal wounds at the end of the turn. So what you can do is, if you cast the spell Plague Wind, let's say somebody comes within 12 of your model, you cast Plague Wind, you put disease on him, then you spread disease at the end of the turn, so now you have 2 units that have disease, and then you roll d3 for each of those units. So you could potentially do d3 damage to 2 different units in the first turn if you cast his spell Plague Wind on the first turn. Problem is, it's a 7 to cast. If you cast on your opponent's turn, it's a +1, so that means you're rolling an 8 or better to get it off. So anyway, that's one thing that he does that you have to take into consideration. The other thing that he does, and he's a wizard, the other thing he does is you pick a friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle demon unit. So that includes everybody but the Glottkin's formation over there with the Blight Kings and the Plague Spore, or the Blight Lords, I guess. But that includes the Plague Bearers, includes it had to start with 3 or more models. So it basically is going to only apply to the Plague Drones and the Plague Bearers. But you roll a dice on a 4+, you set up a replacement unit with 4 half the models. So you can bring in, if you lost your Plague Bearer unit of 20, you could bring in 10, for example, or 2 models of the Plague Drones. So that's the other thing that he does that's good. So that is the Great Unclean One.
Well, good luck on the other packs as well. So.
In his regiment,
Cool shit, you got an extra one already.
I have
You as well.
this guy who is a Poxbringer. He is nothing special. He's just, you know, if he attacks with your unit, he can give your unit fights first, I think. They can fight 2 times, essentially. And they can add 1 hit to the hit rolls. But he is a wizard, and I was kind of like, I had extra points, and that's kind of what I could spend it on. So I'll put him with the Plague Bearers. And then, finally, the last unit that I'm taking, I'm not going to put them all up here because it takes a lot, but I have 20 Plague Bearers. I have actually 30 Plague Bearers in front of you, so I can take up to 20 of them for the army. So my goal is to put these guys in the center with the Slimex and the Beast of Nurgle. That will be the center army and the Great Unclean One. Then I'll have on the left flank, I'll have Rodriguez and the 3 plague drones. And then on the right flank, I'll have the Glottkin, the Knight Blight, Puscarol Blight Lords, and the 10 Knights. Blight Kings, I guess what they're called, Blight Kings. And I can cast the Kron Spine, but he'll probably be easiest cast by Rodriguez. Let's see. I want to kind of put these aside because those are my spells. I haven't decided exactly, and then I'll have to figure out the Gnarlmaw, how that works. But let's talk about the units that I'm not bringing and kind of some cool combinations of stuff. So I will first start with this guy. I'm not bringing this, so this is not in my army. It's just in my collection. This guy hits Morbix, twice born. Morbidex, twice born. He has 14 wounds, a 4+ save, 5+ ward because he's Nurgle. He heals X, where X is the number of damage points rounded up. So, I mean, if you do 7 to him, he heals 4. Kind of crazy. And it's not the damage point that we're taking, it's the damage points that are on this unit. So, if you do 10 points to him, he gets 5 back. He's the Lord of Nurglings, and I have a large whole force of Nurglings. Now, in this game, they're not supposedly that great, so I don't really see people talking about taking them too often. But what he does, they ignore the first damage point for those units if they're wholly within 12 inches. And he adds 3 to those units' control scores. Just so you know, the Nurglings are beasts, so they have control 1, so that basically makes them 4. And he can, once per turn in the combat phase, he can pick a Nurglings unit within unit's combat range to be the target, roll a dice on a 2+. The melee weapons are crit mortal for the rest of the turn. That's what he does. So he doesn't really bring them back. But Nurglings have one thing nice, and that is they have Endless Swarm, which is they heal 3 to this unit, which means they have 4 health, which means if you don't destroy the unit, they're just back to full health. So, and they have crit auto wound, but with him, they have crit mortals. So, he's kind of cool. I was going to try him out, but I decided to go a different route. He's like, I think, 300 points, and I just wanted to do other things. I actually have another, as you can see in the back, Great Unclean One with the bell. So, I mean, I could take 3 Great Unclean Ones, Rodriguez, and 2 more. So next I will put out this guy. This guy, I could have taken him instead of the Blight or the Pox Lord or whatever. What is he called? I forget these names. Poxbringer. I could have brought him instead of Poxbringer. The reason I didn't is he's not a wizard. And what he does is he gives, he's called the Spoil Pox Scrivener. What he does is you can add 1 to attacks character, so the unit's melee weapons, Plague Bearer units are wholly within 12 of him, or you can add 1 to the save rolls. So he kind of gives one or the other. So he's fine, but I just decided to take a different wizard instead. Let's see, what else do I got? I guess I'll go and talk about one of the coolest models in the game. This is an actual old model. This is metal. This is the Harbinger of Decay. Harbinger of Decay is not anything... I don't think he's really that fantastic, but people could tell me wrong. He's a priest, so he has a prayer, and it takes 4 to go off. Pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches, then make a chanting roll. Subtract twice the current battle round. Battle round number from the target's control score for the rest of the turn. So he could basically make somebody so they can't take objectives, I guess, which is good. He also has Knell of Doom. Pick it up to 3 enemy units within 24 inches of this unit to be the target. The units start of their next turn, subtract 1 from the move characteristics, and subtract 1 from run rolls and charge rolls for each target. So I guess that's okay. I don't know. I didn't find a use for him with my tactics, but I will think about him further into the future. But that is the Harbinger, so I did not take him. Let's bring out the Lord of Blights. So I have the Lord of Blights, and the Lord of Blights. Pick an enemy unit that charged this turn within this with this unit's to be the target. So if you charge him, I guess, or you charge within his combat range. Roll a d3 on a 2+, inflict mortal damage equal to the roll. And he also has Festering Bulwark. The blighted weapons used by friendly Putrid Blight Kings units have anti-charge rend +1. I mean, that's a lot of, like, you have to be charged, which probably would be the case with the Blight Lords, to be honest. But I don't know. I didn't take him. I should have maybe thought of taking somebody to enhance the Blight Kings, but I decided that I would rather get other units, because these are like 150 points for each one of these guys, something like that, and instead of 120 for the Poxbringer. Next, this guy I didn't take. This is the Lord of Plagues. Add 1 to the charge rolls for friendly Putrid Blight King units. That's not bad, I guess. Pick a friendly Blight King's unit that charged this turn and wholly within 12 inches of this target. Roll a dice on a 2+, add 1 of the attack's characteristics. So this guy's actually pretty good. The reason I say I like this is because it doesn't mean that he has to be in combat. The ones I don't really care for are the ones that say you have to be in combat with your leader. So this guy, the Lord of Plagues, isn't too bad. But it still says you have to be wholly within, so you have to be really close to him. So I would take him probably over the other one normally. And the last unit that I did not take is this guy, Gut Rot Spume. Now, Gut Rot Spume is a guy that you might take so that you could go hit your opponent from the side or the back of the table. Because you take this regiment, pick a regiment led by this unit, so you pick another unit with them. It's not deployed. Each unit is the target regiment is set up in the reserve aboard the Slime Fleet. Those units have now been deployed. And so the beachhead, which is how you deploy them, set up this unit on the battlefield wholly within 7 inches of a battle edge, more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Then set up every other friendly unit that is aboard the Slime Fleet on the battlefield wholly within 7 inches of the battlefield. So this is the way you get him behind the enemy lines to do things. Because the army is fairly slow, most of them, or a lot of them. And so this guy allows you to kind of get into the flanks or behind the opponent. He also has Flailing Tentacles. Pick an enemy infantry hero, so he's kind of an anti-infantry or infantry hero guy. On a roll of 3+, the target has strikes last. That's what he does. I didn't take him because I already have 2 flying units that I can use, and I have the Beasts of Nurgle. Plus, I kind of wanted these guys not to be taken off the table and brought back in. I don't know what my opponent's going to bring, so, and maybe I'll just set them, bring them in to be dead. And last is this Soul Grinder, which I don't believe is taken in Maggotkin of Nurgle. However, I do believe that you can take that unit in Slaves of Darkness, which I will do, or I will have available to do in the future, because that's the army that with Be'lakor, as you've seen, I'm currently painting up. And just to let you know, kind of a hobby update, I'm painting the Nexus Chaotica right now. And then after that, I'll paint the endless spells for the Slaves of Darkness. And then I'll start painting 10 Chaotic Knights, 20 Chaos Warriors. And then I'll probably move on and paint the Dark Oath that I plan on putting in the army. What I don't have for this army, the units that I don't have, is I don't have Sloppity Bile Piper. I don't have him. I don't know that it's a priority for me to get these. I don't have this guy. He is the Blob Rot Spawned. Don't have him. I don't have the Lord of Afflictions. I kind of want to have the Lord of Afflictions, to be honest, but I don't have it. I don't have Ogot's Demon Spew. You know, I don't have him. I do not have Rotbringer Sorcerer. Looks like that. And I don't have the Rotmir's Creed. However, I want the Rotmir's Creed. If I was to get another unit next, I'm going to get the Rotmir's Creed. That will be the next unit that I'll get for the army. As far as this is the Spearhead. I have the Spearhead because the Spearhead has the Scrivener, which he's right. I'll focus in on the Scrivener. So there's the Scrivener. Have him. 2 Pusgoyle's Blight Lords. There's one. There's the second. I have 2 of them. 5 Blight Kings. You already saw I have 10. And then 2 units of 5 Plague Bears. So I have that. I have the Spearhead for this army. And I played it one time, and I think I won by 1 point. It was really close. It was a fun game. Alright, so I might do some filming when we start setting up our game, when we start our game and playing it, but I don't plan on doing an entire battle report because I kind of want to focus on the game. 3,000 points is going to be a lot to take in. So, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you'll see a little bit more, and I'll try to piece it together in the next video, or maybe attached to this end of this one. This is Old Man Sarge saying goodbye. Oh, also, I have the dice. I absolutely love the faction dice. I try to collect them whenever I can. All right. Have a wonderful day. If you don't see some more information here, and I'll be back with some more updates on my hobby.